Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to This City is the Next New York. It's from the B1M, so I mean, yeah, the channel's elite and it's one of my favourites. And I mean, yeah, I don't know what city this is going to be about, but we're obviously going to see it through this video. And I mean, hopefully you're going to enjoy. If you want more of these reactions to the B1M, let me know in the comments. Links are in the description to my Instagram, my Twitter for those who want to follow me. Same for my Patreon if you want extra reactions. But let's just check this one out, man. I love this channel, so I'm interested to see what city he's talking about here. And by New York, does he mean just the richest city in the world? I say he. Do they mean the richest city in the world, or will it be like, what's the other thing? Like the global sort of financial center. I guess that is kind of the same thing, but like, because obviously New York's got its like certain areas that are like well known, like where all the flipping skyscrapers are. Maybe it's in terms of skyscrapers. I don't know. We're gonna see.
These iconic New York scenes all have something interesting in common. They were actually filmed in Toronto.
Wait. What did you just say?
Yep, you
What?
heard that right. Change a few street signs, add a few buses, and Toronto does a great impression of the Big Apple.
What
and
the
that
fuck?
impression's about to get much better.
I did
the
not know
city's
that.
already impressive skyline is now getting a massive makeover in the form of a skyscraper construction boom.
Toronto's skyline could change dramatically if one developer has its way.
This race for the skies, headlined by The One, will see the Canadian city overtake Chicago as the urban area with the second most skyscrapers in North America.
What the
It's no
fuck?
wonder they're calling this the Manhattanization of Toronto.
They use Toronto in like films where they're based in New York. That's nuts.
Skyscrapers aren't exactly new to Toronto. The place is home to some of the tallest buildings in Canada, and the trusty CN Tower has been a symbol of the city since the 70s.
It seems every time you look up in this city, you see one of these.
Be it from the road or the air, signs of change on Toronto's waterfront, hard to miss.
But lately, things have gone into overdrive, turning Toronto into one of the biggest construction sites in North America.
Holy shit.
Over 100 high-rises currently under construction and more than 300 that are currently proposed. We also have more construction cranes than any other city in North America. There are over 220 that are currently operating in construction sites around the city.
The explosion
Flipping
in
heck.
construction has been brought on by the race to meet Toronto's huge demand for housing. The city is struggling to keep up with existing demand, and with a population boom expected over the next 10 years, that's only going to get worse.
So Toronto's current development boom has been the result of three main catalysts. Those have been policy, immigration, and investment. Over 100,000 people are coming to the Toronto region every year, and
It's growing by 100,000 every year. Do you know how crazy that is? Wait, what is the population? Toronto, like currently. So it's not like insane, but that's like, yeah, that's like just Toronto. It's not like on about Greater Toronto. Like also, because isn't Toronto like near like, yeah, Mississauga or whatever, Mississauga, I can't say it, but like it's sort of conjoined with another city as well. So like, yeah, it's like a whole area that's just getting bigger and bigger. What is this, by the way? Because I think my friend was from here, but he said he was from Ontario. But Toronto. Like when I hear Ontario, I just think of Toronto. But this is literally next to it. And you got Brampton here, and you've got literally like cities. It's pretty much just a long city down here as well. But yeah, what is the names? Is it just two? Is it sort of like how Baltimore and Washington are? Like they're two cities, but they've sort of joined together.
and simply put, we need to be building housing
Over time.
for these people.
A whopping 90% of the new towers under construction are residential or contain residential units.
Okay.
And it's right here, on the corner of Yonge and Bloor, that the most exciting of those new skyscrapers is being built. Designed by Foster & Partners, The One will rise 306 metres above the city to become Canada's first super tall building, offering apartments, commercial space and a hotel when it completes.
Such a pivotal point within the city. We really felt that that ground plane that on that very important corner should really be maximised in terms of its size and its volume. At the ground level, the first 6 floors, the lifts are removed to enable those spaces to operate and function for commercial activities. So that central structural element is transferred across and out to the perimeter of the building to create what will become a major urban space and urban room within the very centre of the site.
To make the most of the space inside the building, weight is transferred to the giant exterior columns which stretch the whole height of the tower. The floors are then hung on this frame by the building's distinctive diagonal beams.
Has 8 mega columns that we wanted to really kind of emphasize in the design, and then to express through the introduction of the mechanical floors these very distinct horizontal bands as you move up through the building, and that was really to give the building a very
I've never seen a building with this kind of sort of design ever. It's so strange.
distinctive profile, and one that's become
cool,
instantly recognisable within the city.
Different.
There are other challenges that go with designing Canada's tallest building too. Like any skyscraper, it's got to be strong enough to resist the wind, and that wind's got to go somewhere. With so many tall buildings springing up across Toronto, the wind being blown down to street level is becoming a pretty big issue.
I'm sure you felt it, those strong gusts of wind when you're walking.
So if there's taller buildings, that causes the wind to come down? I didn't know that. I probably should have. It's just physics and stuff, but I didn't realise the more tall buildings there are, the wind will sort of come lower and lower.
Through the city.
If anything, I sort of thought it would just block the wind because there's just so many tall buildings around. It's just the wind won't be able to find a way to get through. But the more you know, right?
Especially in the downtown core.
To get around this, the cutaways in the mechanical floors play another role in disrupting the flow of the wind and preventing it blowing down to the pedestrians below.
The studies and wind analysis that was undertaken, it did demonstrate there was virtually no increase in wind speeds at the occupied level at the ground plane of Yonge and Bloor.
If the thought of how these enormous city-defining projects are built leaves you scratching your head, then you're probably not the only one. Mega projects like the One need precise coordination and management across a varied range of disciplines, but with tools like Autodesk Build, managing a huge project like this becomes a lot easier. It creates a single platform where anyone working on the project can access the latest, most up-to-date information wherever they need it. Whether you're creating a 3D model in a ground floor office or topping off a building 300 metres in the air, Autodesk Build allows everyone to be kept in the loop with developments and seamlessly shared documents. Toronto's construction boom shows no signs of slowing down, and platforms like Autodesk Build are going to be essential in helping deliver the hundreds of buildings that are set to Manhattanise the city. But hold on a minute, Manhattan became America's skyscraper capital because of a lack of space. Toronto doesn't have that problem, so why build upwards here and not out?
It looks cool maybe, I don't know.
So Toronto is quite a large city, but the vast majority of buildable land area is dominated by what's known locally as the Yellow Belt. So these are neighborhoods that are dominated by low density, detached, single family housing.
Right now, tall buildings go downtown and in suburban centers. Mid-rises go on major streets that we want to make more walkable. Everywhere else gets low-rise development.
That everywhere else makes up a massive 75% of the buildable land in Toronto.
So because land values have increased dramatically, and because there's only certain areas that are zoned for high density development, the only way that developments can be feasible from a supply point of view is if they go upwards.
Some are arguing for a change in planning policy that would allow more development in the Yellow Belt. That would spread the load over a wider area and lead to less dramatic transformation in the city's skyline. Toronto certainly faces its challenges, but it's not all doom and gloom.
People want to be in this city. There's a kind of a rebirth of urbanism in Canada.
I feel like Toronto is one of those cities that I would just love to go to. It's just got something about it. I just think it would be a really cool place to go to. Don't know about in the winter because it gets crazy there, right? But yeah, I feel like it's one of those places that is just, obviously you can see by this video, it's growing and it's booming. But it was already like a prosperous city, right? It was already like a city that was well known and all this kind of stuff and financially was doing well or whatever. But by the looks of it, it's doing even better. And I mean, again, I would just love to visit it there one day.
Canada.
Especially because it's quite close to the US. You can sort of go there, you can sort of explore parts of Canada and parts of the US at the same time. And it's near Niagara Falls too, so it's quite close to it. So.
And Toronto has been the main example of that.
Creating a denser downtown will go some way to combating the city's suburban sprawl. But as Torontonians old and new begin to adopt a new way of living here, the move will have other positive side effects.
The majority of commuters that come into the downtown core are still coming by car. That's certainly changing as our population density increases downtown. There's this idea of a more walkable city.
Torontonians have long depended on their cars to get around, and creating smaller neighbourhoods with more amenities is seen as a way to
Look at the
reduce
size of
traffic
this highway.
congestion and create a greener city.
Flipping hell.
Perhaps if we open up the city to more than cars, it will become more livable in the sense that living in a 600 square foot condo won't be so feel like living in a cell, because you'll have the city to use. The city will be your backyard and your dining room and your playground and all that kind of stuff. You won't have to sort of have everything contained in your house. You'll be able to live and fully inhabit the city.
The eye-watering price tag of apartments in the One hasn't stopped them getting snapped up. But it's also pretty obvious that prestige projects aren't going to do much to help Toronto's housing crisis. Despite that, as the city becomes taller and denser, buildings like the One will at least give the place some extra architectural cachet. Just as the Chrysler and Empire State Building came to symbolise New York, these structures could, in time, become icons of Canada's very own Manhattan.
It's quite cool
You
they've
can
managed to
learn
put
more
it in the
about what's
skyline.
driving Toronto's skyscraper boom and how the One is being engineered in our free live chat with the expert team behind.
Damn, Toronto then, on the come up. You love to see it. The biggest issue in the US and Canada are, in my opinion, the missing of middle housing, which is restricted by zoning. If the zoning wouldn't be that strict, the market would adjust better to the need and thus more affordable housing. Yeah, but housing is just expensive everywhere, to be honest. Wherever there's somewhere nice to live, it's just expensive. It's just the way of the world. But yeah, interesting video. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you want more of the reactions from this channel, let me know in the comments and I'll be down to do so. But yeah, until next time, let's subscribe. Peace.